Part 1, Chapter 5 of Short History of the Christian Church by John Fletcher Hurst. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 5. Mohammedanism. Mohammed, the founder of the faith which bears his name, was born in Mecca, Arabia, about A.D. 570. He sprang from the Quraysh tribe, who were the rulers of Mecca and the surrounding country, and protected the Kaaba, an ancient temple and the center of the old national worship of Arabia. His parents died when he was young, and he was left to the care of his grandfather. He exhibited his warlike taste when 20 years of age. Of these first experiences he afterwards said, "I remember being present with my uncles in war. I shot arrows at the enemy, and I do not regret it." He followed the vocation of a shepherd, and said, "Truly no prophet hath been raised up who hath not done the work of a shepherd." His youth was spent in better ways than was the case with most young men about him. He avoided the prevailing licentiousness, was reserved, and very early showed signs of hostility to the usual idolatry. Khadijah, a rich widow, put him in charge of her caravan, which was about to start for Syria. On his return he married her. He was at this time 25 years of age, and she was 40. The wealth which was at his disposal gave him opportunity for meditation and for carrying out his plans as the founder of a new religion. Mohammed claimed that he fell into rhapsodies, during which he had his alleged revelations. His wife was one of the first to accept his claims to the prophetic calling. 40 or 50 others rallied about him, even before he made public his claims to special revelation. He called his religion Islam, or surrender to the will of God. He despised idols of every kind, and appealed to his countrymen to return to the old Abrahamic faith. He preached the fundamental doctrines of Judaism, the resurrection of the human body, the final judgment, and rewards and punishments according to the life on earth. Great opposition was soon developed, and he, with 15 adherents, went across the Red Sea to Abyssinia. This was the first Hegira, and he was 47 years of age at the time. In 3 months he returned. In a moment of weakness, or for purposes of the final success of his new faith, he yielded to the popular idolatry so far as to say of the 3 idols, Lat, Oza, and Manat, "These are the exalted goddesses whose intercession with the deity is to be sought." But he soon recovered from this position, and denounced idolatry, root and branch, more bitterly than ever. He made a second flight into Abyssinia, where the Christian king, Negus, gave him a favorable reception. In fact, the religion of Mohammed, so far, was not antagonistic to Christianity, but friendly to it. But in due time the difference could be seen, and when once Mohammedanism was on its full career of conquest, there was no further friendship. There are traces, however, in the Koran, of Mohammed's acquaintance with the main facts of the life of Jesus. He probably acquired it when on his caravan journeys in earlier life to Syria. There were, also, Christians living in various parts of Arabia, and probably in Mecca, through whom he must have become thoroughly conversant with Christian doctrine. After Mohammed arrived at his 52nd year, his success was more decided than before. Mecca was slower to accept his creed than the distant places. At Medina the new faith gained great strength. Mohammed removed thither A.D. 622, and shared in building the Grand Mosque, which afterwards occupied an important place in Mohammedan history. Mecca and Medina were at swords' points, the former being opposed to Mohammed, and the latter favoring him. The battle of Bedr was the result. Mohammed was victorious. Though the first blood was not shed here, this was the real beginning, on a large scale, of the sanguinary career of Mohammedanism. Mohammed gained steadily on his enemies. He conquered one tribe after another, until he became feared throughout Arabia. He sent legates to foreign courts, and received answers and gifts in return. He died, while making preparations for a campaign on the Syrian border, when 63 years of age. The Koran contains the system of Mohammed. He claimed to have received his communications miraculously, and that they should be the law of faith and practice for his followers for all time. "This day," said Mohammed at his farewell pilgrimage, "have I perfected your religion unto you." And from that day to this the Koran has never undergone any change, and is the standard of faith and life of the 173 millions who constitute the Mohammedan world. It is a medley of legend, history, Jewish patriarchal traditions, and sensual doctrine. It permits polygamy, and awakens the courage of Mohammedans by promises of worldly pleasures in the future life. It is severe on idolatry, and declares the unity of God. There is a great confusion of chronology. Many of the moral precepts were mere accommodations to Mohammed's infirmities. Polygamy is allowed by the Koran at the mere whim of the husband. Divorce takes place with equal ease. Slavery is recognized as a civil institution. The Mohammedan is obliged to fight for the extension of his cause. The Church and the State are one and the same. Fatalism abounds throughout the system. Under Abu Bekr and the later successors of Mohammed, the new faith was propagated with amazing rapidity. Arabia was conquered by the Prophet himself. The caliphs who came after him subdued Egypt, all North Africa, Syria, Persia, Asia Minor, northern India, Spain, the south of France, and the Danubian principalities. The progress in Western Europe was arrested by the victory of Charles Martel at Tours, a.d. 732. The conquests in the countries around the eastern portion of the Mediterranean Sea were more easy, because of the strifes of rulers and the dissensions of Christians. The progress of the Mohammedans into Central Europe was not arrested until 1683, when John Sobieski, the Polish king, defeated the Turks with great slaughter at Vienna. End of chapter 5.